What did we just talk about? We talked about a bunch of things.
The main thing was the TikTok proposed ban of TikTok in the
Yeah,
US by Congress.
yeah.
Based on an article by Bruce Schneier. Schneier. There's some debate as to how we pronounce his name
Feels
exactly.
almost
I'm saying
German.
Schneier.
Schnee. No, like it's very
He's.
yeah.
I can't believe you don't know Bruce
Yeah, no. I
S.
recognize I recognize this picture though. I've definitely seen
Yeah,
like a call or talk or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
we quickly slip into talking about the end of society, the pregnancy crisis centers, and the misuse of data, just to get you primed for the weekend and get your hopes up.
Nice, hard, and crushed.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. Welcome to the Pete and John Show.
Yeah,
Mike's away, so it's just us two this week.
it's just us.
Uh,
No Mike. We've done
yeah,
this before.
Mike drop. uh,
I think you made the same joke actually, like
yeah,
6 months
yeah.
ago.
This is the first of many jokes
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna be great.
involving Mike slash
Mike even
microphone.
messaged us and was like, "Oh, I should watch what I say because you guys are gonna talk about me." So here we
Yeah,
are, first
yeah. Here we
episode,
are.
first part, talking about Mike. God, miss him so much.
No, so we watch our meager views on this podcast quite carefully, and last week we had very few on the subject of TikTok being banned in the U.S. government. So we've decided to talk about it a bit more because
Yeah, we're just gonna double down.
we're going to double down. I
Yeah,
think it's the only way to do it. This is not a podcast for anybody watching. This is a podcast entirely for us. Like,
yeah. It's just
so,
basically anything we find slight enjoyment in, even slight
yeah,
enjoyment, just a little bit, or even just angry about. Just gonna talk
mostly
about it.
angry.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
ranting. Um, So I'm not very familiar with Schneier on security or Schneier.com. I don't know who this person is. But I
Bruce
can
Knight, oh,
see.
he's a legend, man.
Oh,
He's
okay.
really good.
Yeah.
If you don't know this guy, you should really follow him.
Okay.
Bruce. I've always pronounced it Schneier in my head.
Oh, okay. Wonder if
Schneierer.
it's
We had a
maybe
complaint as
German
well from
Schneer.
Mr. T on Discord that apparently some people actually do listen to this podcast and not just watch the video. So
Oh, okay.
sorry,
I
Mr.
guess we'll be
T.
a little bit more descriptive.
Yeah,
So we are going to talk about an opinion piece by this Bruce Schneer, and it is regarding the Congress debate of banning TikTok in the United States.
yeah,
And this person's opinion is that it's actually really bad. This is bad news. And I actually agree with all his points. Like, kind of going back on what I said earlier when we talked about banning TikTok, that this is not the right way to regulate data privacy.
yeah. He's got a bunch of different points. He goes through all the different scenarios of like how they can ban it and what's wrong with each one. He's like, well, they could try. What's the different options? Yeah, so they could try and just tell people not to use it. They could ban it from their phones. They could outlaw the technology. They could prevent people from trying to financially interact with TikTok as a company or ByteDance. And none of them are actually going to be that effective. I mean, there's always going to be the website as well, which is like what you pointed out last time, John. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's they all have bad downsides as well, which is one of the things is that as again was pointed out last time, that the other apps are doing just as bad. They
right.
are.
The difference is that they're not passing data. Some of them are not passing data to China. And that's the main argument probably in Congress is, don't, what's the saying? Don't do as I, like, do as I say, not as I, whatever the fuck. Like, basically the
Notice I do,
United
yeah.
States, yeah, the United States doesn't mind collecting all this data or having US companies collect all this data, but God forbid it goes to someone like China, which I agree, God forbid, that is terrible, but also strengthen your privacy laws. Like that's the solution that Bruce Schneier is suggesting in this article. Basically, if we want to summarize it into one sentence, is don't ban single apps, fix your system instead.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and of course,
That
like he goes into he goes into the explanation of why this is such an easy route um, for them, for Congress, because they're
yeah.
the ones who would have to pass like these sweeping privacy laws, which would take so much more effort. God forbid they actually work. And
It's solving the
um,
actual problem.
yeah, no need to solve the problem. Let's let the internet service providers and the app stores and the phone manufacturers, they can handle this, which they
Yeah.
won't be
Well,
able to.
it's they're trying to with the American Privacy Act. Like there is a it's been recognized that there's a need for some actual federal privacy regulations. The same like in the EU with GDPR and those kind of things, and the Digital Services Act and the Digital Marketing Act. But I want to talk about a couple of the things that Bruce Schneier, I'm going to say Schneier,
Sure.
says. He talked about, so alternatively, Congress might take a financial approach and ban US companies from doing business with ByteDance. So the downsides of this, well, apparently Trump tried this in 2020, but it was blocked by the courts. They would shut off access to TikTok in app stores and also cut off ByteDance from the resources it needs to run TikTok. But nobody would be able to collect ad revenue from it either or advertise on it. And it wouldn't remove the app from the devices that have already been installed on. Apparently, 70% of young people, I don't really know what defines as young people, 70% of young people use it. And there'll be an enormous demand for workarounds like jailbreaking and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Or they could just relocate to Canada or somewhere
The
that would be
servers, to
legal
be
to
to be clear,
the servers.
TikTok could
Yeah.
just relocate their service, their hosting stuff to Canada, which would not really affect US latency that much.
And the last one, which was the sort of most apocalyptic version, which was um, the, Congress might ban the use of TikTok by anyone in the United States. The Trump executive order would likely have had this effect if it were allowed to take effect. It required that US companies not engage in any sort of transaction with TikTok and prohibited circumventing the ban. So that would be like it's illegal to use TikTok, basically, which is pretty extreme. But it
Yeah,
would mean that the way that the internet is used in the US is then fundamentally changed
correct.
um,
Super dangerous
because
approach.
it's turning it into like a little mini China. You know that they're regulating what you're allowed to do on the internet, which is just it's a slippery slope. I think.
And there are some laws in place, obviously, that dictate that you can't break the law on the internet, right? But
Yeah,
now
well,
being able to extend that into de-
but
even further defining what that is, like TikTok getting thrown into that bunch, that's a huge problem because then you're a step away from banning anything that you don't like. And that's the kind of power you don't want your government to have.
yeah, and that whole thing about there's restrictions already on the internet is exactly that. You're not allowed to do illegal things if they're online or offline.
Right.
I mean, it's fine. Don't build bombs or discuss terrorism or plan to overthrow the government or anything
Or
like that.
hack a bank or
But that's
whatever.
not,
Yeah.
you know, that's not really anything new. That's just you're not allowed to do. This is just a video site. So banning TikTok on the basis that they're collecting data about the users is really extreme. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
instead you should limit TikTok on what they can do. You shouldn't, and that goes for all other online businesses. You're not happy they're collecting data, ban the collection of data. Like
Yeah.
it's that simple. And obviously I'm way oversimplifying it, but it is really that simple. That's what it comes down to.
I think one of the other reasons that the government are disinclined to regulate that kind of thing is because they take advantage of it
Of
themselves.
course.
That the loopholes of like buying geolocation data to track, visits to ICE with buying the data, right? For
Yeah. Oh yeah, not only ICE, but like we've talked about this a bunch, but um the abortion laws that were
the,
put in place in some
yeah.
states with Roe
Oh
versus Wade getting
man.
overturned, and then like now they're tracking people who are searching for abortion clinics And then on the flip side, they now
Fucked, man.
have
Jesus.
fuck, what are they called? Like
Oh,
pregnancy centers or something? I don't
the
remember what.
pregnancy crisis centers.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mike was
so
talking
what
about
they're
those.
doing now is that they're pushing themselves onto the ad space and
Oh,
SEOing themselves on top of actual abortion clinics. So if you look up, if you're in one of these states and you're like, you know what, I want to have an abortion on Google, the first fucking result you're going to get is a pregnancy crisis center, which is not an abortion clinic. It is a place where they convince you to not have an abortion. You go in there and they
uh,
bait and switch
I,
you
I
super hard.
I'm sure I read something about a guy who was somebody who was doing research into this, and they found that the first like 3 or 4 results when you search for abortion clinic. I don't know. Let's say where's it? Where are they banned? Alabama,
In a
Texas.
bunch of like red states, yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's have a look on Google, see if I can get recreate this live, as we like to do. Family planning and abortion clinic, Texas. Oh no, okay. All right. Well, it's probably different for me as a
Yeah, exactly, as a UK. So
EU
I think the
user.
best way to do that is to like spoof your location, put yourself smack in the middle of Alabama or something with a
Yeah.
VPN and just make that Google search and it'll probably show up.
Ugh.
Super scary with ads, with ad blockers
Yeah.
turned off.
So happy days for day one of the John and Pete show. We're going to be back tomorrow with more news of the apocalypse and the
Yeah.
impending downfall of humanity. But otherwise, have a great weekend, guys.
See you on Monday.